I'm going to tell you how I lost my job. In 2 days, took a blind beggar home because no one else would, and found out he was the billionaire who owned the building I was cleaning. Wild right. If it were you late for work in a storm with rent due tomorrow, would you have stopped? Would you have chased a thief? Would you have taken a stranger home? That morning the rain sounded like it had a score to settle. Buckets, not drops. Puddles turning into little lakes. My shoes were done for my umbrella was a joke with holes, and my stomach was doing math. I didn't like. Rice rent transport, repeat. I was 23 second day on the cleaning crew at Williams Group, the kind of glass tower that scrapes the sky and doesn't apologize for it. I needed that job like lungs need air, so I kept my head down and I kept moving until I saw him. He was sitting on this low concrete block by the gate, soaked through, no shoes, no jacket, a walking stick leaning on his thigh. Quiet. Still. Face turned to the side like he was listening for a voice he knew would never come. People flowed around him the way people do when they've decided your pain is not their problem. Then a kid cut through the crowd like a fish through water, snatched a wallet from beside the man, and ran. My body moved before my brain could say, wait. I dropped my bag, yelled hey, and took off. Slippery pavement cars splashing my heart in my throat. He hit a little fence, tried to climb. I grabbed his collar, he twisted. I twisted back, and the wallet fell. The kid vanished into the rain, but the leather stayed. I walked back, shaking, soaked, holding that wallet like it was a newborn bird. Sir, I said, putting it into his hand. I got it back. He turned his face toward my voice. His voice, when it came, was low and steady, the kind you lean in to hear. You ran after him. Yes, I said, catching my breath. Thank you, he said, and it wasn't the empty thank you hear at a counter. He meant it. I felt the meaning. That's when I noticed the watch. Silver, clean little stones around the face. Not costume, not cheap. It flashed even in that gray rain. It didn't fit the rest of him at all. I told myself it was fake. I told myself a lot of things that week. You shouldn't be out here, I said. You'll get sick. He didn't answer right away. I looked at the tower doors at him with no shoes. At the clock that was already judging me. My hand made the choice. I pressed my umbrella into his palm. Here, I said. You need it more than I do. He angled toward my voice. What about you? I'm used to getting wet, I said, and I laughed the kind of laugh you make when your day is already on fire and you decide to save somebody else from the smoke anyway. You know what I mean. I asked his name. Derek. I told him mine. Rachel. I guided him through the glass doors, past the security desk, past the looks to the little storage nook near the janitor's closet, the kind of corner that doesn't get a name because names are expensive. I gave him a towel, set him on the bench, said I'd be nearby, and went to work. Mop bucket hallway. The building smelled like lemon and money. Office girls clipped by in heels and clouds of perfume. Behind glass, whispers caught like fishhooks. The boss is back. For real. Back from London. Young, loaded, single. That last word traveled fast. Then I heard the voice that could cut marble. What is this filthy creature doing here? Clara. Supervisor. Perfect hair. Perfect nails. Perfect way of making words feel like knives. I walked fast. She was standing over Derek, arms folded, lip curled like the air offended her. Blind and useless, she announced. Get out, now. No one said anything. That's the thing about bystanders. They can be a crowd and a desert at the same time. Derek stood, reached for his stick, turned toward the exit. No scene, just dignity. I stepped in front of Clara. He wasn't bothering anybody, I said. He's a human being. She looked me over slow from my wet scarf to my worn shoes. And you're a cleaner, she said. Know your place. I felt my jaw tighten. Respect isn't a job title, I told her. Being nice is only human. Her smile sharpened. You just made a very big mistake, she said, like a promise. I found Derek in the drizzle outside umbrella, limp head bowed. She asked me to leave, he said softly. There's a moment in any bad day where you decide if you'll swallow your pride or swallow your paycheck. I swallowed pride. Come with me, I told him. You're not standing in the rain. Yeah, that happened. Now listen. When I say I brought him home, I mean a one-room apartment where the bed is a mattress on the floor, and the table has a limp leg, and the curtain flutters even when the window is closed. But it was dry, and it was mine. I made rice with a little oil and salt, the cheap kind of comfort that still counts. He ate slow, careful. The watch flashed again. My eyes kept drifting to it. He noticed. A gift, he said, quiet. From better days. I didn't ask which days. Sometimes questions feel like taking. Sometimes silence is kindness. We talked about nothing, and a little about everything. He listened like listening was work he liked. When I told him I'd dropped out of school after my parents died, that I wanted to study fashion one day, because clothes can carry stories, he nodded and said, Dreams are maps. The sentence landed and stayed. Morning punched back fast. HR barked at me to move. I moved. Then screaming from the third floor. My bracelet. My gold chain. It's gone. Clara again, louder this time, big audience. I was in the restroom when I saw something glint near the bin, bent down, found a delicate chain. I walked out, chain in my hand, about to speak, and Clara spun on me like a storm finding a roof. You, she said. You stole it. The room took a breath like it had been waiting to exhale that word all day. I found it in the restroom, I said. I was coming to bring it back. Lies, she said, soft and sharp. You brought a beggar into this company. You're desperate. Of course you stole it. Jessica from HR watched me like I was a problem she'd been told to solve, not a person she might meet in a grocery line. Mr. Thompson, the manager, didn't ask a single question. He slid a termination letter across his desk like he was feeding paper into a shredder. We don't do drama here, he said. Security will walk you out. 2 days. I lasted 2 days. Have you ever tried to swallow tears so hard you thought they might scrape your throat raw? I packed my things into a tired backpack and walked home in rain that felt personal. Derek was sitting on the mattress, the blanket folded, a careful guest. You're home early, he said. I got fired, I said. Then I said everything else. The chain, the restroom, the looks, the letter. He listened. When I ran out of words, he said, Good people always win at last. I shook my head. Not from where I'm standing. Sometimes the ones at the bottom rise the highest, he said, and the ones on top fall the hardest. He didn't sound like he was guessing. He sounded like someone who had seen the last scene and was watching the movie play to catch up. The next days were the grind. Job hunting with a smile that felt heavy, shop to shop, office to office. We'll let you know, leave your number. Do you have experience? Come back later. At night, I roasted corn on a rusted grill out front. If I sold 10, I ate. If I sold 20, I saved. I told Derek to stay in because the market is claws and elbows, and he was blind, and I wasn't going to be responsible for a hurt man on top of everything else. He learned the little room like it was a map, listened for my footsteps, kept water ready, kept quiet. Bodies tell the truth, your pride won't. One evening the road swung, the fire hissed, the world went white. I woke under a ceiling fan and clean sheets. The nurse smiled. St. Hope's Private Hospital. Malaria and exhaustion. How did I get here? I asked. A man brought you, she said. Stayed until the doctor said you'd be fine. Then he left. The bill I started. Paid in full, she said, like that sentence wasn't a miracle in this world. On the bedside table lay a tiny sun-shaped key holder new to me, warm in my hand, like it had something to say. I went home with the sun charm in my palm. Derek was gone. 2 days. 3. A week. I watched the road from my window, listening for the tap of a walking stick, telling myself he had moved on, that kindness is sometimes a boat that docks and leaves before dawn. Meanwhile, the tower that fired me held its breath. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. The elevator doors opened on the ground floor, and out walked a man in a suit that fit like a promise. No stick, no dark glasses. Eyes clear, steady, the kind that make you stand up straighter without thinking. Derek Williams, founder and CEO. The rumor everyone had been spinning stories about. He stopped in the middle of the floor and let the silence come to him. I've been back for days, he said, voice. Even eyes moving across faces, like he was reading names off a page. But I wanted to see something. He paused. I sat outside my own building and watched how you treated a man you thought had nothing. Shoes shuffled, eyes fell. One of you, he said, looking right at Clara, threw me out of the company I built. A tremor went through the office. She opened her mouth. He lifted a hand. Don't. He clicked a remote. The big screen behind reception lit with CCTV footage. Clara placing her bag, glancing around, staging her panic. There are no cameras in the restroom, he said, but timing is a truth teller. The story fell apart on the screen the way lies do when you rewind them. We are not a company for cruelty or convenient lies, he said. We rise by lifting others. He looked at Clara. You're dismissed. Immediately. No salary. No recommendation. Her heels clicked toward the door, but it didn't sound like power anymore. It sounded like endings. Find Rachel Okocha, he said. Tell her she was wronged. Tell her I want to see her. That evening, a delivery boy knocked on my door. For Miss Rachel, he said, handing me a plain envelope. Inside was a note in a hand I recognized without knowing how. Please come to this address at 5:00 p.m. today. I owe you more than I can ever say. Derek. The gate opened like a movie. A butler led me through trimmed hedges past a fountain that made the air sound like summer into a foyer of marble and light. He stood there in a black suit, the watch catching the chandelier, the face the same as the one I'd seen in the rain, the eyes now clear and steady. I'm not blind, Rachel, he said. My full name is Derek Williams. Something in me went still. Something else went loud. You're the CEO. I said the words landing like shoes after a long jump. He nodded. Yes. I drew a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Why? He didn't rush it. I didn't want to meet the version of my company people save for boardrooms and polished floors, he said. I needed to see how they treat strangers, the powerless, the ones they don't have to be kind to. He looked straight at me. You had almost nothing, and you gave everything. Your umbrella, your time, your voice when you stood up for me. I'm sorry for the deception. I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it to know the truth. Sometimes truth stings, sometimes it heals, sometimes it does both in the same breath. He handed me an envelope with my name on it. Offer number 1, he said. Executive personal assistant. Work with me directly. Real salary, real respect, real growth. My hands shook. He handed me a second envelope. Offer number 2. Full sponsorship for fashion school, here or abroad. You told me dreams are maps. Let's follow yours. I covered my mouth because the words wanted to come out all at once and I needed them to land in order. I never asked you for anything, I said. I know, he said. That's what makes it right. Life pivoted in that foyer. Not at the accusation, not at the letter, not even in the hospital, when a stranger's kindness covered a debt I couldn't but hear with roses in the air, and proof in my hands that kindness isn't a loan, it's a seed, and seeds grow even in cracked concrete. I took the job. I started night classes. Weeks later, I walked back into the Williams Group tower with an ID badge that didn't apologize for me. People said good morning and meant it. Jessica from HR smiled for real. Mr. Thompson shook my hand too long. I was still me, the girl with the thrift store scarf and the sun-shaped key holder clipped to her bag. But I was also the woman who sent the CEO calendar invites and told him which meeting could be an email. Derek asked about vendor contracts and about whether I'd eaten. He wrote "breathe" on a sticky note during a tense meeting and slid it to me like a secret. We didn't talk about the rain much. We didn't have to. It was in the room, soft and steady the way some memories hang there without asking for attention. If we cut here, you might say the story wraps with a neat bow. But life is not a bow, it's a knot. And I have questions that tie themselves. Do you think his experiment was fair? Is it okay for someone with power to put on poverty like a coat to study who we are when we think nobody important is watching? Would you call what he did justice or theater? If I had walked by that day because I was cold and late and tired and worried about keeping a job I'd begged for, would that have meant I wasn't kind, or would it have proven I was human? That's the debate. Some of you will say he revealed character. Some of you will say he played with people's pride. Some of you will say both are true. I asked him once when the questions got loud. What if I hadn't stopped? Would I have been invisible to you? He turned his chair. Kindness shouldn't be a performance for rewards, he said. And punishment shouldn't land on people for not being perfect every day. I didn't run the test to hand out prizes. I ran it because a company becomes what it tolerates. I needed to see what we had become. I carry that answer like a smooth stone. I still turn it in my pocket. I saw Clara across the street one afternoon, sunglasses on, coat pulled tight in warm weather. She saw me. We didn't wave. I went inside, ordered tea, stared at the window where the city made a second version of itself in glass. Do I feel sorry for her? Some days, yes. Some days I feel nothing. If it were you, what would you feel? Do you think her firing was harsh or honest? Do you think public truth is the only thing that stops private lies? A maintenance worker found the sun-shaped key holder under the front desk one evening and handed it to me. There was a little scratch on the edge now, like it had been somewhere and come back. I clipped it to my bag again. Maybe the universe doesn't return what you lost. Maybe it returns what you're meant to keep. I'll leave you with this, because this is the part I want you to argue about in the comments. What kind of world are we building? If kindness only flows upward, if we only hold doors for people who can hold doors for us. Is a good deed still good if a reward follows later? Is a test still fair if the stakes are people's rent, people's dignity? Tell me what you think. Be honest. Be messy. If you've ever been blamed for something you didn't do, say, "I hear you tell me what happened." Let the rest of us learn from it. If this story made you pause, hit like so it meets somebody who needs it. Hit subscribe because there are more stories where the truth shows up wearing a different jacket. Share this with a friend who thinks small kindness doesn't matter. Drop where you're watching from and what the weather's like. Tell me if you believe a company can change from the bottom up, and answer me straight. Do you think what Derek did was fair or not? I'm Rachel. I was a cleaner for 2 days. I lost my job on a lie. I took a blind beggar home and found a billionaire. And from where I stand now, one thing is still true. We rise by lifting others. You know what I mean.